The champagne towers sparkled under crystal chandeliers. I stood by the dessert table watching my husband Marcus laugh with his assistant Nina. They'd been on the dance floor for over an hour. My feet hurt in these new heels. My dress felt too tight. An older woman in pearls tapped Marcus on the shoulder. "Excuse me, young man, are you here with someone special tonight?" Marcus looked right at me. Then he smiled that big smile he saves for important people. "Not exactly. My wife's here somewhere, but she's pretty dull. Doesn't really matter." Everyone around them laughed like it was the funniest joke they'd ever heard. I felt my whole body go cold. That was 4 hours ago. Now I'm sitting in our fancy apartment making pancakes at dawn. The kind with blueberries he loves. I keep thinking about those words. Not interesting. Doesn't really matter. But something is different this morning. I'm not sad anymore. I'm planning something. Before I tell you what happens next, if someone ever made you feel like you don't matter, please click subscribe. It's free and it helps other people find this story. Now, let me show you what I did. The butter melts in the pan. I flip each pancake perfectly. No burned edges. Just the way Marcus wants them. I've made these pancakes hundreds of times. Cut the strawberries into tiny pieces. Add exactly 2 spoonfuls of sugar to his coffee. Pour the orange juice into the glass he likes best. It's like my hands know what to do without thinking. This is what I've done every single morning for 3 years. We live in this expensive apartment because Marcus said we needed it to look successful. I didn't want to move here, but Marcus said it was important for his job. His alarm clock beeps. Then it beeps again. And again. He hits the button to make it stop. I hear him groan through the bedroom door. He'll blame me later for not waking him up the right way. Our neighbor's TV is loud already. The news people are talking about something. Marcus will want to know what they're saying so he can pretend he understands business stuff. He does this every morning while texting Nina about their meetings. Yesterday, I found a receipt in his jacket pocket. 2 fancy coffees from the expensive shop. The timestamp said 4:15 in the afternoon. When did 1 coffee become 2 coffees? When did getting coffee with someone from work become something he does every single day? When did he stop including me? I put the receipt back exactly where I found it. Let him think I'm the wife who never checks his pockets. The wife who never asks questions. The wife who never wonders why Nina's name lights up his phone more than my name does. At 7 o'clock, Marcus finally walks into the kitchen. His hair is messy. He's already looking at his phone. He doesn't say good morning. He doesn't give me a kiss. He just makes a sound and sits down at the table. His thumbs are moving fast on his phone screen. Nina needs me to look at her work before the big meeting. He tells his phone, not me. I might be late tonight, too. The Henderson Project is getting busy. The Henderson Project. Everything is about the Henderson Project these days. I put his plate in front of him. He takes a bite without even tasting it. His eyes never leave his phone. A message pops up. Nina's picture in a little circle. She's smiling. Marcus actually smiles back at his phone. A real smile. The kind he used to give me. I haven't seen that smile in forever. I have that wedding tonight. I remind him. The Chun wedding. You promised you would come with me. What? He finally looks up. His face is confused like I'm speaking a different language. Oh yeah. Right. What time? 7 o'clock. The invitation has been on the refrigerator for 4 months. He's already back on his phone. Nina might come too. She knows the Chin family from some charity thing. Is that okay? I watch him eat without really eating. He's answering Nina's messages between every bite. Was it okay? Does what I say even matter? Nina will show up anyway wearing something fancy and expensive. And Marcus will get all happy and excited the second she walks through the door. Just like at his work party before Christmas. Just like at every team dinner that somehow never includes wives anymore. Sure, I say, turning back to wash dishes. The more people the better. At 7:15, he rushes out the door. He leaves half his pancakes on his plate. His coffee mug is still on the table. Running late for Nina's thing, he yells without looking back. Not goodbye. Not I love you. Not even thank you for breakfast. Just Nina. Always Nina. I clean up his mess. Then I sit at the table with my own coffee and open my computer. My school email shows 23 new messages.
Parents want to meet with me.
Students sent their homework late. The principal sent reminders about testing week. This is my real life. The one where I'm Mrs. Clara and people respect me. Where 8th graders actually listen when I talk. Where parents thank me for helping their kids understand poetry. At 12 o'clock, I'll stand in front of my class talking about old books with 30 kids who think they know everything about love. Emma Rodriguez, my smartest student, will ask one of her really deep questions that makes everyone uncomfortable. Last week she asked if people in stories ever really love each other, or if they just love the idea of being loved. I changed the subject to talking about the book, but the question stayed in my head. Later, I drive across town for my secret tutoring job with the Henderson twins. Yes, those Henderson kids whose dad's project keeps Marcus and Nina so busy working late. Their mom pays me $400 cash every session. Money I hide in a bank account Marcus doesn't know exists. I told him I was saving for a surprise vacation for our anniversary. Really, I'm building something else. An escape fund. A freedom fund. A just-in-case fund that gets bigger every week. The apartment feels smaller this morning. Like the walls are closing in. The brick wall that looked cool when we moved in now looks like a prison. The fancy furniture Marcus insisted on buying feels like props in someone else's movie. Even the sunshine coming through our big windows seems fake. Too bright. Showing me a life that looks perfect on the outside, but is broken on the inside. I pick up my phone and look at Marcus's Instagram. There she is. Nina in a team photo from yesterday's lunch. Nina laughing at someone's birthday party I didn't know about. Nina standing next to my husband at a meeting I thought he went to alone. Nina. The woman who's somehow more present in my marriage than I am. Tonight will be different though. Tonight at the Chun wedding, surrounded by people who know us as a married couple, Marcus will have to notice me. He'll have to introduce me as his wife. Sit next to me at dinner. Maybe even dance with me if I'm lucky. For a few hours, I'll exist in his world as more than the boring woman who makes his breakfast and pays half his rent. I close my computer and walk to the bedroom to pick what to wear to the wedding. The navy blue dress hanging in the closet will work. Simple, pretty, appropriate. Marcus will glance at it later and say fine, without really looking. The way he says everything these days.
Fine. Okay.
Boring. But as I stand there touching the fabric, those words from 4 hours in the future echo in my head. Doesn't really matter. The parking guy took forever to bring our car. Marcus checked his phone every 10 seconds.
His jaw got tight with each moment that passed.
The Chun wedding place appeared in front of us. A huge old mansion with tall white columns lit up with golden lights that made the whole building glow against the dark sky. Nina just texted. She's already inside, Marcus said, practically bouncing up and down. We need to hurry. I fix my navy dress one more time. The fabric suddenly felt cheap compared to what I saw in our bedroom. Other couples were arriving. The wives wore colorful gowns that sparkled in the light. Their husbands held their arms as they walked up the stone steps in high heels. Marcus was already walking ahead of me, his phone still in his hand. The ballroom doors opened to show tables everywhere with white tablecloths. Flowers were everywhere, white and pink roses dripping down from tall vases. A group of musicians played violin music in the corner, the kind of music that makes everyone talk quietly and feel fancy. I saw people I knew from Marcus's office, from my college days, from our neighborhood. Everyone looked polished, happy, together. Clara. Oh my goodness, finally. Sarah's voice cut through the quiet talking. My college roommate appeared in a green silk dress. Her husband Tom walked behind her carrying 2 glasses of champagne. She pulled me into a hug that lasted longer than normal. When she pulled back, she looked at my face with a kind of worry that meant my makeup wasn't hiding how I felt. You look exhausted, sweetie, she whispered, her hand still on my arm. Is everything all right? Before I could answer, Marcus was already looking around over my shoulder. His body was turned away from our conversation. Sarah followed where I was looking. She watched my husband search the crowd like someone looking for their lost luggage at the airport. "She's by the bar," Tom said helpfully, not knowing what his words meant. "Nina, right? From your office. She was asking where you were earlier, Marcus." The change was instant. Marcus's face lit up. His shoulders straightened. Suddenly, he looked like the man I married. Animated. Engaged. Present. Except none of that energy was for me. "I'll be right back," he said, already moving. "Just need to say hi." Sarah and I watched him move through the crowd, going around tables and groups of guests with purpose. Tom excused himself to find their seats, leaving Sarah and me standing there like abandoned lighthouses. "How long has this been happening?" Sarah asked quietly. "What do you mean?" The lie came out automatically, even though we both knew better. She didn't push. Instead, she linked her arm through mine and walked me toward the bar, talking about her kids, her new job, anything except the obvious. But I wasn't listening. I was watching Marcus reach Nina. The red dress should have looked too bright in a sea of soft colors and dark blues. But on Nina, it looked like confidence, like power, like everything I wasn't. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves that probably cost more than my entire outfit. When Marcus walked up to her, she turned toward him like a sunflower finding the sun, her whole body lighting up with recognition. I watched him help her with her wrap, a delicate silver thing that had slipped from her shoulders. His hands stayed there too long, adjusting fabric that didn't need adjusting. She tilted her head back and laughed at something he said. The sound carried across the ballroom, bright and musical, making other guests turn to look. "The thing about the quarterly reports," I heard Nina say as Sarah and I got closer. "You should have seen Mr. Peterson's face when you made that joke about the numbers." The thing about the quarterly reports. They had things. Inside jokes. Yesterday's meeting that probably turned into yesterday's dinner and yesterday's drinks. Sarah's hand found mine and squeezed. She understood without words, the way good friends do. We found our table, number 18, tucked in a corner with a pole blocking part of the dance floor view. Marcus's name card sat next to mine, but his chair stayed empty through the salad, the speeches, the first dance. When the DJ invited everyone to join the happy couple on the dance floor, Marcus appeared with Nina beside him. "They're playing our song," she said loudly, and I wondered when they got a song. "Remember from the Henderson celebration dinner?" The Henderson account. Everything always came back to the Henderson account. "Just one dance," Marcus said, not really asking, already leading Nina away. "You don't mind, right, Clara?" Did I mind? The question hung there for half a second before they disappeared into the crowd of dancing couples. I watched them move together with an ease that spoke of practice. His hand knew exactly where to rest on her waist. She knew exactly how to tilt her head to keep eye contact while they turned. One dance became two when the DJ played another slow song right after. Two became three when Nina requested something specific, batting her eyelashes at the DJ like they were old friends. By the fourth song, other guests had started to notice. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Eyes followed their movement around the floor. The mother of the bride, Mrs. Chin herself, caught my eye from across the room and gave me a sad smile that felt worse than obvious pity. By the fifth dance, I'd stopped pretending to check my phone and simply sat there, champagne untouched, watching my husband dance with another woman while everyone watched me watching them. Sarah had tried to make conversation, but even she'd run out of things to say. That's when Dorothy Chin walked over to our table like a perfumed hawk in an expensive suit. "Darling," she settled into Marcus's empty chair with the confidence of someone who owned every room she entered. "I don't think we've properly met. I'm Dorothy, Rebecca's mother. And you are?" "Clara Morrison," I managed. "I went to school with Rebecca." "Oh, how lovely." Her voice carried in a way that made it clear she wanted to be overheard. "And that handsome man dancing with the blonde woman. Is he with you?" I felt all the blood drain from my face. Sarah started to say something, but Dorothy waved her off. "Such a beautiful couple they make," Dorothy continued, loud enough that the table next to us turned to look. "The way they move together, like they've been dancing for years." "Is he married, dear?" The question hung in the air like a sword about to drop. I could see Marcus and Nina returning to the table, both red-faced from dancing. Nina's hand possessively on his arm. They were laughing about something, heads bent together, completely unaware of the small audience that had gathered around our conversation. "Well," Dorothy pressed, her voice now carrying to 3 tables over. "Is your handsome friend married?" Marcus heard her. I saw the exact moment the question reached his brain. Watched him process it. Watched him look at me. His wife of 3 years. The woman who'd supported him through business school. Who'd moved to Boston for his career. Who'd spent countless nights alone while he worked late with Nina. He smiled. That easy, charming smile that had made me fall in love with him at a bookstore 5 years ago. "Not exactly," he said, his voice carrying across our corner of the ballroom. "My wife's here somewhere, but she's pretty dull. Doesn't really matter." The laughter exploded immediately. Nina giggled behind her perfect nails. Dorothy Chin practically screamed with delight. The couple at the next table exchanged knowing looks. Even the waiter pouring water smirked. I stood slowly, my movements careful and controlled. The champagne glass made a soft sound as I set it on the table. Every eye in our section was on me now, waiting for tears, for drama, for the boring wife to finally provide some entertainment. "Excuse me," I said, my voice steady as stone. "I need some air." Nina's voice followed me as I walked away. "Was that because of me?" "Don't worry about it," Marcus replied loud enough for me to hear. "She's always dramatic at events." The bathroom was thankfully empty. I locked myself in the farthest stall and stood there, breathing slowly through my nose. No tears came. My hands weren't shaking. Instead, there was this strange calm settling over me, like watching storm clouds clear after years of rain. I came out and faced myself in the gold-framed mirror. My mascara hadn't run. My lipstick was still perfect. I looked exactly like the woman who'd walked into this wedding 4 hours ago, hoping her husband might remember she existed. But inside, something fundamental had shifted. A door had closed. A decision had become crystal clear. I walked back through the ballroom without stopping at our table. Marcus was back on the dance floor with Nina, both of them laughing at something the DJ had said. Sarah caught my eye and started to stand, but I shook my head slightly. This wasn't her problem to fix. The parking guy seemed surprised to see me alone. "Leaving already, ma'am?" "Yes." I handed him the ticket. "Just me." The drive home should have taken 30 minutes. I made it last an hour and a half, winding through Boston's quiet streets, windows down despite the cold March air. The wind bit at my cheeks, made my eyes water in a way that had nothing to do with crying. At a red light on Commonwealth Avenue, I remembered the acceptance letter from Boston University's master's program in education. I'd been 27, eager, talented according to my professors. But Marcus had just gotten into Harvard for his MBA, and we couldn't afford both programs. "Your career is more flexible," he'd said. "You can go back to school anytime." That was 4 years ago. The principal position at Riverside Academy that I'd turned down because it would mean evening meetings, weekend workshops, less time to support Marcus's networking events. The head of school had been shocked. "This opportunity won't come again, Clara." But Marcus needed me available. Needed the stable income while he established himself. The baby planning appointments I'd started last year. 2 months of tests and doctor visits. Then Marcus's sudden announcement that he wasn't ready, might never be ready. Shouldn't I focus on being happy with what we had? I'd thrown away the vitamins, deleted the doctor's number, pretended my heart hadn't been preparing for something that would never come. By the time I reached our apartment building, the strange calm had transformed into something harder, colder. Clarity, maybe. Or just the absence of hope finally bringing focus. Our apartment was dark, silent, waiting. I moved through it like a ghost with a mission. In the bedroom, I pulled my travel bag from the closet. The one I'd bought for a trip we never took. My grandmother's gold locket went in first, wrapped in tissue paper. Then her matching bracelet, the wedding band she'd worn for 55 years before leaving it to me. From the living room shelf, I carefully removed the photo albums she'd also left me. Years of family memories that Asher had wanted to throw out because who looks at physical photos anymore? Each album went into a box I'd saved from deliveries. These albums had survived wars, floods, 2 cross-country moves. They weren't staying here to watch my marriage die. My laptop was next. I sat at the kitchen table and carefully downloaded for years of financial records. Our joint bank account, the credit cards, his spending patterns, the restaurant charges at places I'd never been, hotel rooms in the city when he was supposedly at conferences, $6,000 at Cartier last month that had produced no little red box for me. I took pictures of everything, every receipt, every statement, every lie turned into proof. The tutoring money I'd hidden wasn't in our regular bank. For 4 years, I'd been putting cash into an account at a completely different bank. $38,000 from teaching rich teenagers how to write better essays while their parents thought I was taking meditation classes. The teaching awards from Riverside Academy went into a box. Teacher of the Year 2020. Excellence in Curriculum Design 2021. Community Impact Award 2022. Marcus had never come to the ceremonies. School stuff, he called them like I was a child showing off a drawing. At exactly midnight, I sat at our kitchen table with his key ring. The apartment key slid off first. Then the mailbox key. The gym key. The spare to his parents' house across town. I kept removing them until only his car key remained, alone on the ring like a question mark. His laptop was password protected, but I knew all his passwords. He used the same 4 in rotation had since college. I logged into our Netflix account and changed the password. Then Disney Plus, HBO Max, Spotify, the grocery delivery app, the meal kit service he'd insisted we needed. Every shared digital space we'd created, I locked him out of. One by one. His LinkedIn profile was the masterpiece. I didn't delete it or write anything mean. Just a simple update to his job description. Currently seeking new opportunities after workplace relationship affected professional judgment. Available immediately. Vague enough to be professional. Specific enough to raise red flags with any person hiring who bothered to look. I found the business card Robert had given me at last year's holiday party. Nina's boyfriend. Working overseas for 8 months, completely unaware his girlfriend was playing romance with my husband. I uploaded the photos I'd taken tonight on my phone. Marcus's hand on Nina's waist. Her head thrown back in laughter. The 2 of them closer than coworkers should ever be. I typed a simple subject. Thought you should see what Nina was doing at the Chin wedding. My wedding ring came off easier than I'd expected. 3 years of wearing it, and it slid off like it had never belonged there. I placed it on Marcus's pillow with a note written on the back of a grocery receipt. You're right. It didn't count. Not interesting enough to fight for someone who is never really present. By 1 a.m, I was pulling into my sister Beth's driveway in Portland, Maine. The overnight bag and boxes of albums secure in my trunk.
Her porch light was on.
She'd been waiting since my text 5 hours earlier. Coming to stay. Will explain. Safe. No questions. No demands for details. Just drive safe. Room is ready. The tea was already steeping on her kitchen counter when I walked in. Beth took one look at my face and poured 2 cups without speaking. We sat at her wooden table, the one she'd bought at a yard sale and spent weeks fixing up. And I finally let myself breathe out. He said I was dull. I told her at a wedding. In front of everyone. Beth's knuckles went white around her teacup, but she just nodded. She'd never liked Marcus. Had called him aggressively average after meeting him the first time. I should have listened. I turned my phone off completely and slept like a rock in her guest room, surrounded by the blankets she made during her knitting phase and the smell of pine from her backyard. For the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't dream about anything. The attack began at exactly 8 a.m. Beth knocked gently, holding my phone. It's been ringing nonstop since 7. 34 calls from the same number. Not Marcus's number, though. I took the phone, saw the unfamiliar Boston number, and knew immediately. He was calling from the apartment building phone. The front desk phone because he couldn't get in. I powered it on, and the screen exploded with notifications. 51 missed calls. 23 voicemails. 82 text messages. The first voicemail was time-stamped at 7:05. Clara, what the heck did you do to the door? This isn't funny. I'm locked out of my own apartment. His voice was more confused than angry. Still in denial. The second at 7:20. Seriously, this is ridiculous. I have a meeting at 9. Open the door now. By 7:38, panic had crept in. My credit card just got declined at the coffee shop. What's happening? Did you cancel my cards? At 7:55, full rage. You're crazy. You can't just lock me out and take my money. This is illegal. I'm calling the police. I'm calling a lawyer. You're going to be sorry, Clara. You vindictive. I deleted the rest without listening. Beth sat beside me, reading the text messages over my shoulder. Most were the same thing repeated, demands, threats. Then, buried among them, one from an unknown number. This is Nina. I don't know what you told Robert, but you've destroyed everything. I hope you're satisfied. Robert is her boyfriend. I explained to Beth. Military. Deployed overseas. I sent him photos from last night. Beth actually laughed. You sent proof to the other woman's soldier boyfriend? Clara, I didn't know you had it in you.
My phone rang.
Marcus again from the building phone. This time I answered. Clara, what is wrong with you? Open this door right now. Good morning to you too. I took a sip of the tea Beth had made. Strong, with real honey from the farmer's market. Don't you dare. Where are you? Why aren't you here? The door won't open. I removed your access. You'll need to make other living arrangements. Other arrangements? This is my apartment. Actually, it's Mr. Sullivan's apartment. And as of this morning, you're no longer on the lease. 45 days notice to vacate. Silence. I could hear his breathing, fast and shallow. You can't do that. Already done. Check your email. Mr. Sullivan was very understanding when I explained the situation. What situation? What did you tell him? The truth. That my husband publicly announced our marriage doesn't count because I'm too dull. He seemed to think that was grounds for lease changes. That was a joke. I was drinking. Nina thought it was funny. Is Nina answering your calls this morning? Another pause. She's dealing with something. Robert. I know. You sent those photos to Robert.
He's deployed.
He's serving our country, and you? He's serving our country while his girlfriend plays romance with married men. He deserved to know. You've destroyed everything. My reputation.
My job.
Interesting people handle their own problems, Marcus. I have to go. My sister's making breakfast. Clara, wait. I hung up and blocked the building phone number. Then I called Mr. Sullivan myself. Miss Clara. His Irish accent was thick with sympathy. I sent the email like you asked. 45 days, he's out. You want I should change the locks anyway? That won't be necessary. The digital locks are already updated. Good. You know, my wife, she never liked him. Said he had eyes like a weasel. Wandering eyes. By 10 in the morning, my phone was buzzing with a different kind of call. Sarah, breathless with information. Clara, you're not going to believe this. Tom just told me. He works in HR, remember? Nina has done this before. 4 times. At her last company, she caused a whole scandal between 2 married bosses who were competing over her. The company moved her to Boston to avoid the problem. I sat up straighter. She's done this before? It's like her pattern. She targets married men in leadership positions, creates these emotional affairs, then plays victim when things blow up. Tom says there was already paperwork started to transfer her to Atlanta because someone filed a complaint 2 months ago. Not about Marcus. About her behavior with a different married manager. Marcus was just another target. The easiest one, probably. Tom says everyone at the office knew about them. The late meetings. The lunches. The constant texting. Nina apparently told people you were separated. That the marriage was already over. We weren't separated. I made him pancakes yesterday morning. I know, sweetie. I know. But here's the best part. Robert showed up at their office 2 hours ago. My teacup froze halfway to my mouth. What? He got emergency leave. Flew back from Japan overnight. walked into the downtown office with a folder of printed emails and photos. Tom says security had to walk Marcus out because Robert was ready to, well, military guys don't mess around. Is Marcus okay? Why do you care? But yes, he's fine. Embarrassed, but fine. Nina, though, she completely threw him under the bus. Told everyone that Marcus had been chasing her hard. That she tried to keep professional boundaries. That she felt pressured because he was more senior than her. I actually laughed. She's claiming he harassed her? Full victim mode. HR is launching an investigation. Marcus has been suspended while they review everything. And Nina? She's already packing for Atlanta. Turns out that transfer paperwork just needs a signature. I thought about Marcus standing in our apartment building this morning, locked out of the life he'd taken for granted. His credit cards dead. His reputation falling apart. His side piece abandoning him to save herself. The boring wife he dismissed had taken apart his entire existence in less than 18 hours. Clara, you still there? Yeah, I'm here. How do you feel? I considered the question. How did I feel? Vindicated? Satisfied? Empty? Interesting, I said finally. I feel interesting. Sarah hung up after promising to keep me updated on the office drama. And I sat in Beth's kitchen, feeling oddly hollow despite the vindication. Beth was at work. She taught art at a community center downtown, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the constant buzzing of my phone. Patricia Morrison's name flashed on the screen. Marcus's mother. I'd been expecting this call since approximately 45 seconds after Marcus discovered he was locked out. I let it ring through to voicemail 3 times before finally answering on her 4th attempt. Clara. Her voice was thick with tears, dramatic in that special way only Patricia could manage. What have you done to my poor boy? Hello, Patricia. He's homeless. Jobless. He called me from some stranger's phone because his own phone is dead. He spent the night in his car. In his car, Clara. He has a car. That's more than some people have. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've done for you? Welcoming you into our family? Patricia, your son told a room full of people that our marriage doesn't count because I'm too dull. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing, planning her next move. Men say things they don't mean when they're drinking. Frank once told me I looked like his aunt in a certain outfit. Did I lock him out of the house? No. Because marriage is about forgiveness. Frank, Marcus's father, who'd had 4 affairs that Patricia knew about and still pretended didn't happen. The Morrison family motto should have been, pretending is easier than confronting. He wasn't drunk, Patricia. He meant every word. You're throwing away 3 years over one comment. That's childish, Clara. Marriages have ups and downs. You work through them. Like you worked through Frank's secretary? Or the tennis coach? Or that woman from his book club? Silence. Then, how dare you? I dare because I'm done pretending dysfunction is normal. Marcus learned from the best, didn't he? That wives should just accept whatever scraps of respect their husbands throw them. She hung up on me. 30 minutes later, my own parents called. I'd been dreading this more than Patricia's drama. Mom's contact photo, us at last Thanksgiving, both smiling, made my stomach twist. Sweetheart, Mom began, her voice carefully neutral. Marcus called us. Of course he did. He explained about the misunderstanding at the wedding. Misunderstanding? He publicly declared I wasn't interesting enough to count as his wife. Dad's voice joined the call. He must have been on speaker. Clara, honey. Men sometimes say foolish things. But you have to ask yourself, did you try hard enough to keep his interest? The words hit like ice water. Excuse me? Well, Dad continued, oblivious to the damage he was causing. Relationships require effort from both sides. Maybe you got too comfortable. Stopped making an effort. When's the last time you surprised him? Dressed up for him? I made him breakfast every morning at 5:30. I supported him through business school. I gave up my master's for his career. But did you stay interesting? Dad pressed. Men need excitement. Challenge. Maybe this Nina woman just offered something you didn't. Mom chimed in. Have you considered marriage counseling? Dr. Patterson. You remember her from church? She saved the Wilsons' marriage after his affair. This isn't about saving anything, I said, my voice flat. It's over.
Don't be hasty, Mom said.
You're emotional.
Take some time.
Think about your future. You're 31, Clara. Starting over at your age isn't easy. Better than staying with someone who publicly humiliates me. Is it? Dad asked. Better than working on your marriage? Better than admitting maybe you both made mistakes. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness, but from anger. My own parents, the people who raised me, thought I should have tried harder to be interesting for a man who was emotionally cheating with his coworker. Beth walked in during my 4th cup of tea that afternoon, took one look at my face and said, "Parents. They think I should have tried harder to keep his interest." She snorted, pulling groceries from a bag. "Remember when I caught him at your wedding?" I looked up. "What?" "I never told you.
Kept the peace, you know.
But at your wedding, your actual wedding, I saw him cornering my friend Jessica by the coat room, hand on the wall beside her head, leaning in close, telling her she had pretty eyes." My teacup stopped halfway to my mouth. "At our wedding?" I told him to back off.
He laughed.
Said he was just being friendly. But Jessica was uncomfortable. She left early because of it. "You never said anything. Would you have believed me?" Beth sat down across from me, her face serious. "You were so happy. So sure he was the one. And I thought, maybe it was just wedding champagne. Maybe I misread it. I didn't want to ruin your day with suspicions." "For years," I whispered. 3 years of signs I ignored. My phone buzzed. An email from Marcus. The subject line, "Please read, important." Against my better judgment, I opened it. "Clara, I know you're angry, but what you're doing is destructive and unnecessary. Nina meant nothing. She was just a coworker who understood my work pressure. You were always so focused on your teaching your students. You didn't understand the stress I was under. I said something stupid at the wedding, yes. But haven't you ever said something you didn't mean? We have 3 years of history, an apartment, a life. Don't throw it away because you're hurt. I'm willing to forgive you for the locks, the money, the embarrassment at my office. We can start fresh. But you need to stop this vindictive behavior now. Marcus." I read it twice, amazed at the mental gymnastics required to make himself the victim. He was willing to forgive me for responding to his public humiliation. The delusion was almost impressive. That evening, a notification from our bank made my blood run cold. Large withdrawal from joint checking. I logged in immediately. $4,000 transferred out this morning. Then another $3,000 this afternoon. He was draining what was left before I could stop him. I called the bank, but they explained that as a joint account holder, he had every right to withdraw money. Unless I could prove fraud, which I couldn't, the money was gone. I pulled up 4 months of statements, really studying them for the first time. Charges at hotels in Boston during conferences that were supposedly in other cities. Restaurant bills for 2, always 2, at places I'd never been. Concert tickets, museum passes, even a spa weekend in Newport last month when he'd said he was visiting his college roommate. I took pictures of every suspicious charge, every hotel receipt, every dinner for 2 that I'd never attended. The Newport trip hurt the most. I'd spent that weekend helping my teacher friend set up her new classroom while Marcus was supposedly bonding with his old friend in Connecticut. The evidence file on my laptop grew thicker with each discovered lie. My phone rang just as I finished documenting the last 4 months. Unknown Boston number. "Hello, Mrs. Morrison. This is Dorothy Chun, the wedding gossip queen." I braced myself for another round of humiliation. "Dorothy. Dear, I owe you an apology." Her voice was different.
Softer.
Without its usual theatrical edge. What happened at Rebecca's wedding was inexcusable. I provoked that situation, and I'm deeply sorry.
I didn't know what to say.
Dorothy Chun had never apologized for anything in her life. "However," she continued, "I thought you should know that several guests recorded the incident on their phones. The video is, well, it's making rounds through Boston society." Someone added a caption, How not to treat your wife. Your husband has become quite infamous. The video is spreading like wildfire, dear. The Pattersons' dinner party last night, it was all anyone could discuss. That Nina woman's reputation is equally destroyed, of course. Pursuing a married man at a wedding. The audacity. She paused, then added quietly, I've been married 38 years, Clara. William has his faults, but he's never once failed to claim me as his wife. What your husband did, that wasn't just cruel. It was cowardly. You deserve better. And frankly, I should have said so at the wedding instead of stirring the pot. Thank you, Dorothy. I'll keep you informed of any developments. Boston society has a long memory for scandals like this. She hung up, leaving me stunned. Dorothy Chun, the woman who lived for drama, had just become an ally. The next surprise came 2 hours later. Another unknown number, this time with an overseas prefix. Is this Clara Morrison? Yes. This is Robert Hayes, Nina's ex-boyfriend. My stomach tensed. Robert, I'm sorry about. Don't apologize. You did me a favor. I'm calling because I think we might be able to help each other. Help each other? I've been going through Nina's emails. She forwarded a lot of work correspondence to her personal account. There are messages between her and your husband that, well, they're revealing. They called us convenient. Both of us. Said we were stable but boring. Good for their careers. Each word felt like another piece clicking into place. They discussed us like we were furniture. Useful but replaceable. There's one thread where your husband promises to recommend Nina for a management position once he makes director, in exchange for her continued attention and discretion. Dated 2 months ago. He was trading career advancement for an affair? Looks like it. I'm sending you everything. Use it however you need. Clara, there's something else. Nina did this at her previous company in Seattle. And the one before that in Denver. It's a pattern. She targets married men in leadership positions, creates dependency, then uses it for career advancement. How did you? I have friends who know how to dig. Military intelligence training comes in handy. I'm meeting with her former victims this week. Building a case. A case. She destroyed our relationships for sport and profit. That has consequences. I'll be in touch. He hung up before I could respond. Within minutes, my email dinged with a folder labeled Evidence. 31 email threads between Nina and Marcus, each more damaging than the last. The next morning brought another unexpected turn. I arrived at Riverside Academy early, hoping to prepare for my classes in peace. Instead, I found the principal, Dr. Kim, waiting in my classroom with coffee and a gentle smile. Clara, word travels in our community, she began carefully. Several parents have reached out expressing support. They're appalled by what happened. My cheeks burned. The parents know? Dorothy Chen's nephew is in your second period class. Dorothy has been vocal about the situation. I wanted to disappear into the floor. However, Dr. Kim continued, this has led to something positive. 5 families have specifically requested you for private tutoring. The Johnsons, the Lees, the Patels, the Browns, and the Hoffmans. All full college prep packages. At $400 per hour, that was nearly $15,000 in potential income. Additionally, she pulled out a business card. Jennifer Hoffman is a senior partner at Hoffman Legal Group. She asked me to give you this. She's offering free legal services for your divorce proceedings. I took the card, speechless. Her exact words were, women need to support women who know their worth. She also mentioned she'd handled several cases against your husband's firm. Apparently, they have a history of protecting employees who engage in inappropriate conduct. That afternoon, I met Jennifer Hoffman at her office, a modern space overlooking the harbor. She was everything I wasn't. Tall, commanding, with the kind of presence that made rooms go quiet. I've reviewed the preliminary information, she said, spreading documents across her conference table. Your husband made several critical errors. The joint account drainage, the LinkedIn manipulation, the public humiliation. All documented. With the evidence from Robert Hayes and the video from the wedding, We have a solid case for fault-based divorce with significant financial penalties. I don't want his money. I just want out. Noble, but unwise. He's been spending marital assets on his affair. You're entitled to compensation. Let me handle the legal strategy. You focus on rebuilding. That evening, back at what would soon be Marcus's former apartment, I decided to grab the last of my things. I still had keys, physical ones he couldn't digitally lock. The place felt different. Smaller somehow, like it had already forgotten me. In the bedroom closet, behind his collection of expensive suits, I noticed a notebook I'd never seen before. Inside was a leather-bound planner, the kind self-important people buy to document their brilliant thoughts. I opened it to a random page. Year 2 with C. Maintain status quo until director position. She provides stability. Respectability. Parents approve. After promotion, reassess. And shows more promise for long-term advancement. C2 content with teaching. No ambition. 4-year exit strategy on track. My initials reduced to a letter. Our marriage reduced to a business plan. I photographed every page, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. His own handwriting. His own words. Planning my disposal like I was an outdated phone. The planner's last entry was dated just 3 weeks ago. C still oblivious. Nina agrees to Atlanta after my promotion. Fresh start. No dead weight. I closed the planner, placed it back in the box, and took it with me. This was evidence now. Not just his private thoughts, but a written confession of fraud. Emotional fraud. Financial fraud. Marital fraud spanning years. Jennifer Hoffman called that evening as I was organizing everything for our legal strategy. The papers are ready, she said, her voice carrying that lawyer's edge that meant business. Process server is scheduled for Sunday. 1 o'clock. Your husband's parents' address, correct? Sunday dinner. I confirmed. He never misses it when he needs comfort. Perfect. Nothing like a family audience for accountability. Sunday arrived cold and rainy, matching the mood perfectly. At 1:17, my phone rang. Patricia Morrison, right on schedule. You vindictive witch, she screamed before I could say hello. How dare you humiliate him in our home? In front of his father, his sister, the grandchildren. Patricia, your son humiliated me in front of hundreds at a wedding. This seems fair. He was served divorce papers at our dining table. During Sunday dinner, Father Mike was here. Even better than I'd imagined. Public humiliation apparently runs in your family, Patricia. He gave it out. Now he's getting it back. You've destroyed him, his career, his future. He destroyed those himself. I just stopped hiding the wreckage. She hung up on me, but not before I heard Marcus yelling in the background about calling his lawyer. About defamation. About destroying me in court. Monday morning, my recruiter friend Diane texted me. You need to see this. She sent a screenshot from LinkedIn. Someone had captured Marcus's profile during the brief window when I'd edited it. Currently seeking new opportunities after workplace relationship affected professional judgment. Available immediately. The screenshot was circulating through Boston's professional networks with the wedding video attached. The comments were brutal. This is why we need better workplace policies. Imagine destroying your marriage and career for an office affair. My company would never hire someone with this judgment. That poor wife. At least she got out. Diane's next text. His profile views dropped 85% this week. Recruiters are actively avoiding him. That video plus the LinkedIn edit, he's toxic. Even his uncle's consulting firm withdrew their offer, she added. Nobody wants the liability. Wednesday was the mediation meeting. Jennifer had prepared me extensively, but nothing could have prepared me for seeing Marcus again. He looked smaller somehow. His suit wrinkled. His perfect hair messy. Nina's absence was obvious. She'd refused to attend, claiming she was the victim in all this. His lawyer, a tired-looking man named Gerald, opened with standard demands. My client seeks a clean division of assets, 50-50, and spousal support given Mrs. Morrison's higher earning potential as a teacher with tutoring income. Jennifer actually laughed. Your client wants support? Let's review, shall we? She spread bank statements across the table with theatrical precision. Mrs. Morrison paid 65% of household expenses during Mr. Morrison's MBA program. 65%. She highlighted line after line with a yellow marker.
Rent.
Utilities. Groceries. Even his student loan payments. All while maintaining her teaching position and taking on extra tutoring to support them. That was a mutual investment in their future, Gerald started. A future he was planning to abandon. Jennifer produced the planner, photocopied and bound like a court document. Page 34, dated 16 months ago. 2 more years until director, then exit strategy from C. Page 51. C's stability useful for appearance of settled family man. Important for director position. Page 73. Nina shows more promise for power couple dynamic. Gerald's face went pale. Marcus's face went red. That's private. She stole. Your client documented his intention to commit marital fraud, Jennifer continued, using his wife for financial and social stability while planning abandonment. Nina's name appears, she paused for effect, 214 times across these pages. That's roughly once every 3 days for 2 years. This is ridiculous, Marcus exploded. She contributed nothing. I was building our future, while she played with 8th graders. She's bitter because I found someone actually interesting. Mr. Morrison, the mediator, a stern woman named Judge Park, interrupted, "You've just admitted to the affair on record." Jennifer smiled like a shark. "Would you like to discuss the $63,000 in marital assets spent on this interesting woman? Hotels, dinners, jewelry from Cartier." That was for clients. Client Nina Hayes? Because these receipts show 2 dinners, always 2, at restaurants where Mrs. Morrison was never present. Gerald whispered urgently to Marcus, but he was beyond listening. She locked me out, changed my LinkedIn, destroyed my reputation. You destroyed your own reputation, I said, speaking for the first time. My voice was steady.
Calm.
I just stopped covering for you. Before he could respond, Jennifer's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her shark smile widened. Interesting timing. Nina Hayes just released a statement through her company's HR department. She read from her phone. Mr. Morrison's persistent advances created an uncomfortable work environment. Despite my repeated attempts to maintain professional boundaries, he leveraged his senior position to pursue inappropriate contact. I felt pressured to comply to protect my career. That's a lie. Marcus stood, his chair scraping against the floor. She pursued me. She has emails suggesting otherwise, Jennifer continued. Edited, of course, but compelling. She's claiming harassment. Hostile work environment. Potential quid pro quo. Your former company is launching a full investigation. Gerald closed his briefcase with a sound of defeat. We need to recess. My client needs to address these new allegations. Of course, Jennifer agreed. But our position is clear. Mrs. Morrison keeps all premarital assets, her savings, her earnings. Mr. Morrison keeps his debt, his ruined reputation, and whatever Nina left him with. As we gathered our things, Marcus grabbed my arm. Clara, please. You know me.
You know I'm not what she's saying.
I looked at him. Really looked at him. The golden boy who'd charmed me 5 years ago was gone. In his place stood a desperate man whose carefully constructed life had collapsed in less than 3 weeks. I don't know you at all, I said quietly. I never did. Jennifer guided me out while Marcus called after me, his voice breaking with panic. The sound followed us down the hallway, echoing off marble walls that had witnessed 1,000 broken marriages, but probably few as thoroughly destroyed as ours. Outside the building, Jennifer turned to me. Nina won't stop with that statement. She's going to bury him to save herself. By next week, he won't be able to get a job managing a coffee shop in Boston. She was right. 4 days later, the full HR report leaked. Nina had submitted edited texts, selective emails, even a recorded phone call where Marcus's words were cut to sound predatory. His former company issued a statement distancing themselves. His professional networks evaporated overnight. The headline in Boston Business Journal read, "Former rising executive faces multiple investigations." Marcus's professional obituary, really. I folded the newspaper and left it on Beth's kitchen table, feeling nothing but a distant kind of relief. Like hearing about a storm that passed without touching your house. 8 months had passed since that mediation meeting. The divorce was final. I'd kept my maiden name, Parker, on everything except the official paperwork, so going back to it felt like slipping into comfortable shoes I'd forgotten I owned. Portland had become home in a way Boston never was. I'd found a small apartment with big windows and ocean views. Started teaching at a local private school. Built a tutoring practice that actually let me choose my clients. Wednesday mornings, I treated myself to coffee at Harbor Grounds, a cafe where nobody knew my history, and the barista just called me the teacher who likes cinnamon. That particular Wednesday, I was grading papers when a familiar voice made me look up. "Clara. Oh my goodness, it is you." Dorothy Chin stood there in a purple wool coat, looking somewhat out of place among the Maine locals in their fleece and jeans. "Dorothy." I set down my red pen. "What brings you to Portland?" "Visiting my daughter. She moved here last year after her divorce." She gestured to the empty chair across from me. "May I?" I nodded, curious despite myself. Dorothy settled in with her green tea, her eyes bright with that particular gleam that meant fresh gossip. "I suppose you haven't heard about developments?" "I don't really follow Boston news anymore." "Oh, but you must hear this." She leaned forward conspiratorially. "Marcus is living in his childhood bedroom. His parents' house in Newton. Patricia tells everyone who will listen that he's regrouping and considering his options." I took a sip of my latte, waiting. "He's working at his uncle's friend's insurance office. Not selling policies, filing paperwork in the back. Can you imagine? From corporate presentations to filing insurance claims." "That's quite a change," I said neutrally. "And he's dating someone new." Patricia describes her as simple but sweet, which in Patricia speak means she's appalled but desperate for him to move on. The girl's 24. Works at a hair salon. They met when she did Patricia's highlights. 24. Barely out of college. I felt a flicker of pity for the girl, but not enough to warn her. She'd learn or she wouldn't. "Nina?" I asked, more from courtesy than interest. "Transferred to Atlanta, then quietly let go. 4 months later. Something about cultural fit issues. Last I heard, she was waitressing and trying to start a fashion blog." Dorothy finished her tea and left with our kisses and promises to keep in touch that we both knew were empty. I returned to my papers, red pen moving across pages about Romeo and Juliet and what it meant to mistake passion for love. Thursday afternoon was the Riverside Academy faculty meeting via video call. I'd maintained my position there, teaching remotely 4 days a week. They hadn't wanted to lose me, and the arrangement worked perfectly. "Before we adjourn," Dr. Kim announced, "I have wonderful news. The board has approved our recommendation. Clara Parker, would you please accept the position of curriculum director?" My colleagues erupted in congratulations over their various screens. It was a position I'd never even considered pursuing when I was managing Marcus's ego, making sure I was never too successful, never too visible, never more accomplished than him. "I'm honored," I said, meaning it. "Thank you. Your innovative teaching proposals were extraordinary," Dr. Kim continued. "Particularly the integrated arts project with the music department. Brilliant work." Brilliant. Not dull. Not uninteresting. Brilliant. That evening, I was making dinner when my phone rang. Unknown number. Boston area code. I almost didn't answer. Then curiosity won. "Is this Clara? Clara Parker?" "Yes." "This is Kyle Henderson. I was Marcus's roommate at Boston College." My hand tightened on the phone. "Kyle. I owe you an apology. A massive one. I should have warned you years ago." "Warned me? About Marcus. About how he talked about you." Kyle's voice was strained, guilty. He used to brag about having a safety wife. Said you were perfect for the image he needed. Smart enough to impress people, but too dull to leave him. too grateful to have someone like him to ever cause problems. Each word confirmed what I'd already figured out, but hearing it from someone else still stung. He said, boring women were perfect for marriage because they'd never have options. They'd always be loyal because who else would want them? Kyle continued, I should have told you at the wedding. Heck, I should have told you at the engagement party. But bro code, and all that toxic garbage. Why tell me now? Because I heard what he did to you, what he said at that wedding. And I realized my silence made me complicit. You didn't deserve any of it. Your revenge wasn't cruelty. It was just returning the same level of respect he'd shown you. Thank you, I said quietly, for telling me. There's more. He's been calling old friends, trying to borrow money, looking for job connections. Everyone's avoiding him. He did this to himself, but he still blames you. Says you destroyed his life over a joke. A joke. 3 years of marriage reduced to a punchline, and he still called it a joke. Saturday afternoon, I attended a reading at Longfellow Books, our local independent bookstore. The author was discussing historical fiction, weaving together stories of forgotten women who changed history from the shadows. I sat in the back row, notebook in hand, genuinely absorbed. Excellent question, the author said to someone in the front about the agency of women who seemed powerless. Professor Martin, would you like to address that from a historical perspective? A man stood, tall, early 40s, salt and pepper beard, wearing a corduroy jacket that should have looked pretentious, but somehow didn't. His answer was thoughtful, nuanced, bringing in examples from his own research. I found myself leaning forward, captured by his perspective. After the reading, I was browsing the history section when a voice beside me said, "You were taking serious notes back there, researcher." Professor Martin stood there, holding a stack of books that suggested he was a regular customer. Both, I admitted. I teach English, but I'm always looking for historical connections to make literature more relevant. His face lit up. Cross-disciplinary approach. Brilliant. I'm James, by the way. James Martin. Clara Parker. We talked for 30 minutes about books, teaching, the challenges of making history matter to modern students. He listened intently, asked follow-up questions, laughed at my observation about teenagers thinking everything before 2015 was basically ancient history. Would you maybe want to continue this over coffee? He asked. I know a place that makes the best blueberry scones in Maine. I'd like that. If this story of sweet revenge had you cheering for Clara, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Clara left the wedding ring on Marcus's pillow with that devastating note, knowing he'd wake up to a completely dismantled life. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more thrilling stories like this. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. This is Women's Revenge, and remember, you teach people how to treat you.